we had the guy on our show who filed a lawsuit saying you don't have the power to do this to the toddlers. It's the toddlers. They have the lowest risk from COVID. And yet they're saying, because they can't be vaccinated, they have to wear the masks. And so he filed a lawsuit. He won. A trial court judge in New York said, this is unconstitutional. You didn't have the powers to declare this. Yay. That's how we ended our Friday show. Then I was like, maybe Eric Adams is the reasonable man. Some told us he was, and he just won't appeal this. Maybe he's just looking to appease that far left constituency. And he could say, sorry, we lost in court. No, that wasn't it. They filed an appeal immediately, and they got an appeals court ruling saying they have to wear the masks while, the case plays out. And so the masks are back on. And just to set it up for you, Eric Adams went to yet another celebrity event this past weekend, and parents were mad and showed up there to protest. I mean, you know what it takes to make somebody actually go out and protest? They're irritated. You got it, especially New Yorkers, who they're constantly irritated. They don't protest. They showed up outside of, it was like a theater he was going to for some show. I think it might have been the Sarah Jessica Parker, Matthew Broderick show. Anyway, he's walking in, and this is how he handles the parents. It's hard to hear for our listening audience, but basically this other guy's got his arm around Eric Adams, and the parents are yelling, and the other guy's like, Adams go, toddlers and masks. How you doing, man? And the friend's like, hey, good to see you. Adams says, welcome to politics. The friend's like, yeah, welcome to politics. Ha ha ha. While you have angry parents. Take a listen and a look if you're watching on YouTube.
Right. Congressman. Good to see you. Welcome to politics. I saw you on TV this morning. Yeah, welcome to politics.
Ha ha ha. So funny. So funny to have the 2-year-olds in the masks forever. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, imagine going to the mat on that. Right? I mean, look, we know that progressives across this country are having a very difficult time grappling with the fact that they actually have to move on from COVID, right? It's fulfilled their wildest fantasies in terms of government intervention in the lives of the American people. But that, I mean, look, I can't even fathom how you make the decision that, no, we got to go absolutely to the end of the earth to make sure that this kindergartner is forever scarred with a mask.
Well, Holmes, you and I talked about this a few days ago, and that, because we live in Washington, D.C., and you see similar sorts of things, people still masking out on the streets and stuff in public, outside. And you get this sense that these liberals are playing a game of chicken amongst themselves, that the person who keeps the mask on the longest has the most virtue, right? And so I think in these liberal enclaves like D.C. or New York, that's what we're seeing transpire right now.
But it's particularly sadistic when you're talking about toddlers.
Yeah, well,
right?
Of course.
I mean, there's not a speck of research that indicates that would be good for anyone. There's tons of research, and in fact, a ton of clinical data that suggests that you may have longer term problems with toddlers not being able to recognize facial recognition, expressions,
emotional development.
Yeah, any way to we could be raising an entire generation that stares at each other.
Right.
I mean, it's just sickening. And I can't for the life of me understand how anyone, particularly someone who tries to think of themselves as a reasonable human being, would draw the line here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a huge issue for a number of reasons. Holmes brought up, the most salient one, which is the science has shown that children are the least at-risk group. The most at-risk group, other than, comorbidities, is the elderly. And, not too long ago, you had Joe Biden in a room full of a bunch of elderly people at the State of the Union discussing about how, it's good to be here without masks. So the decision making here isn't in any way connected to the science. I think a lot of it might have to do with the fact that, toddlers can't vote. So a lot of these Dems just take it for granted on the face of that, which makes it all the more important that their voice is heard by their parents. And I think we saw that in Virginia, and I think we're going to see it again
it's happening
in this election.
Yeah.
I think it's more important than ever for parents because again, like Holmes said, the damage that's being done to children. You saw a statistic that came out last week where it was like 15% of teenagers contemplated suicide during the lockdowns.
Yep.
This is having a very significant impact on the youngest people, the one who count on the adults in the room being the adults in the room and making decisions that help their future and are looking out for them. And that, you've got a mayor who will show up to parties and thinks that, parents being concerned about their children's health is just politics.
Right.
You know, they really feel
right.
like they're untouchable. They don't care what parents have to say. We've already seen, this federal government, you've got Merrick Garland who will go after parents considering they are domestic terrorists.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I
Can
think
you stop for one second on your way into your celebrity-filled event to say, I hear you. I'm following the recommendations of my health guy. We're keeping a close eye on it. I know you don't like it. I'm listening. Something. Yeah. Not just like, ha, 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 parents and masks, toddlers and masks, ha, ha, ha.
I mean, look, we like to laugh and joke about absolutely everything. It's really hard to laugh and joke about this topic. Yeah. I mean, this is one of the saddest topics of a many, many sad topics that COVID has brought us. But what has happened to the youngest amongst us is really a tragedy in every possible way. Right. But it's also, it's also indicative of this larger catch-22 of one of many catch-22s that Democrats have in their party right now, is that they know they've been killed by their COVID politics. Right. They know that it's hurting the Democratic Party all over the country. You saw what happened in Virginia. We're watching it happen, play out in generic ballots and all that. And the Biden administration has basically pretended ever since Ukraine started, basically, that COVID no longer exists, right? And they'd like for all of their followers to continue that sort of facade. And what's happening is it's running up against an activist element that treats us as a religion, basically. They're bought it full lock, stock, and barrel. That
it's a good question.
Need a triple mask, Because
if COVID is so problematic that we still have to keep these muzzles on 2-year-olds who are literally at virtually zero risk from COVID, then why are we taking away Title 42 at the border? Why are we now opening the border to all immigrants who want to, quote, seek asylum? Sure. Okay. Here in the United States. Because we're only doing that because COVID's no longer an emergency. So how do you square the two? How is it toddlers shut up and keep your faces covered, but migrants come on in, welcome back?
Again, it goes back to the voting issue where when you had a Democrat primary and every single candidate on stage raised their hand and said, I would let any migrant who makes it into America have health care and all the benefits that come with citizenship. New York City is testing out letting illegal immigrants vote. Hey, we can either have
all
voters,
part of the plan,
but these toddlers aren't going to be voting for us.
Right.
So
that's
all they're concerned with is power, not what is in the best interest of the people or the kids or what's most helpful for this country. They just want to hold on to power.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.